Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to Wrestle Rock with Rick Connor.
What the F was that entire freaking promo about?
Mark Hallbacher.
She's like the James Ellsworth of women.
And Corey Castle.
I look like Paul London and Brian Kendrick mixed.
Can you guys hear my? Can you guys hear my dishwasher?
No.
Okay, good.
It was just funny. And Corey Castle and it's Matt Flowers just like, can you hear my dishwasher?
Oh, I didn't even hear it.
That's okay.
For some reason, it won't pipe into the show.
Yeah.
We got to check and see what that problem is.
This place, when you play it back, you'll be able to hear it, but it's, for some reason. But yeah, man. Spoiler alert. Welcome, Matt Flowers, back to the show. What's going on, sir?
What's going on, guys? It's been a long time. You know what? It's good. I feel like I have a more clear head. I think like just trying to watch and enjoy. Like I've learned to enjoy what I like in wrestling and just not say anything negative about what I don't like.
Instead of watching it critically.
Yes. Enjoy what I enjoy, and then what I don't enjoy, that's okay. It's not for me. So.
That's the way to do it, man. That's the RASSLE Rock way of life. There's too much good stuff to enjoy. We report on the bad stuff as well, but we're all here because we enjoy professional wrestling, which is a very 80s and 90s Vince McMahon thing to say. We're all friends and family here in the World Wrestling Federation.
The universe.
Bunch of stuff to talk about this week.
You know what I've been enjoying this week? I've been watching the clips of Matt Cardano. Over at GCW.
Somebody posted the match. Did you watch the match?
I haven't seen the match. I just saw him win.
I won't give anything away. I mean, everybody knows he won, but it's a typical Nick Gage hardcore match. But dude, the crowd, it's a huge crowd for like that type of show. And they love every second of it. So I mean, it's I like him. I also like. I know we're gonna get into a bunch of stuff, but I've been following his podcast network where it's like on the action figures and stuff, and they go on toy hunts, and it's pretty cool. Like they're just like, we're adults and we like toys. Like, you know what I mean? Like we don't care. And there's a lot of people who do. They have a huge following. So it's just like, it's funny how he's the total opposite of like Nick Gage. You know what I mean? Like, this guy just, he's like the deathmatch king, and then Matt Cardona is like the action, the wrestling figure king. But it's interesting.
The Heat reminded me of, do you remember, it was a One Night Stand when Cena came out during One Night Stand, how they lost their minds?
Yeah.
And they were going for Rob Van Dam. That's what it felt like. Like really, really like hardcore fans and that whole anti-WWE, corporate type wrestler. I thought it was awesome. And good for Matt Cardona. Like for him to get any kind of buzz. He's never been a bad wrestler. He seems like a really good dude. He got the shaft in WWE like a lot of people do. And I'm glad he's getting some buzz, and he's doing it without AEW. He's doing it in all the smaller federations, which I like.
Yeah, I have a theory. AEW's tomorrow night, right? Is tomorrow night Nick Gage versus Chris Jericho?
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about that later? Because I can get into my theory then. Okay. Remind me. I'll get into my theory then.
We brought you on because AEW is getting crazy, and the problem is both Rick and I's work schedule does not allow us to really watch AEW.
Well, the thing about AEW, and this is again, like there's stuff I like and there's stuff I don't like, and the majority of my complaint is too much. Like sometimes I'm watching it and I do feel like, not to be a Jim Cornette or anything, but I do think there is a point where it does seem contrived. And it's like they're coming out and it's kind of like they are like playing wrestler, and I don't know. It's some things they're not doing seriously, obviously. And then how are you supposed to take the other stuff on the card seriously when they're, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's too much of that. They've gotten better though. I will say this, like, I do feel like they have been getting better with their angles. Like the past 2 shows, I don't think there was a downside at all. Like whereas when we first started watching it, it was just like some crap on there. But
well, that's why it's interesting bringing you on too, because if you remember, me and you were sitting there and you used to trash AEW. You used to make it go hard, making fun of it. Well, and now you prefer that over WWE mainly.
I still think I do think. Here's my order of shows. SmackDown, I think, is the best show, just because I think Roman is the best thing. I also like. Are we doing Wrestler of the Week at the end?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll save my Wrestler of the Week, and maybe you've brought it up before, but so my order is SmackDown, AEW, NXT, NXT UK, and then Raw is just trash. Like I feel like Raw is just complete garbage. Mm-hmm. But you know what I think is going to happen with AEW is I'm seeing a lot of themes to when Bischoff took over WCW and they started signing all the top guys at the top money, like, you know, brought in Macho Man and Hogan and Luger. And I kind of feel like that's what they're doing now. They're bringing in, you know, Jericho's still there, but they're trying to bring in Daniel Bryan, CM Punk. Mm-hmm. Whereas in a few years, I honestly think some of the stars they should be focusing on right now, I think WWE is going to scoop them. And then it's going to be like when they scooped Hunter Hearst Helmsley, they scooped Austin, they scooped Mick Foley, they scooped those guys when WCW was focusing on paying big money to the previous stars. I kind of feel like MJF in 3 years will be in WWE. Jungle Boy, these talents that they should be building. Hangman Page.
That's the guy. If they drop the ball on him, they're screwed. Jungle Boy, that guy has star written on the whole gimmick, like everything he's doing. Like he's a Daniel Bryan type character where the fans are really connected to him and really like him for no matter what he does.
I just see parallels there where I'm afraid in 3 years that's what's going to happen. They're going to let these stars, and there's other guys too. Like I like you know, Max Caster and Anthony Bowen. Like they do the rap stuff. Like I think they're talented. Mm-hmm. And there's some other younger guys where I just think it's the same as WCW when they were focused on bringing in all these former stars. They're going to let the young guys slide, and then that'll be the time where WWE will become hot again, I think.
Yeah. The only difference though is they're bringing in, because AEW is such a hardcore crowd, they're bringing in guys that WWE never saw as stars, like the Malachi Black and Miro and all. They're bringing in these guys, and it's like it's the fans always saw the potential in them, so they still have time. But I see what you're talking about. I can see that in 3 years.
Because here's the thing, Mark. Let's say they do bring in CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. The rating's not going to go above like a 2. So it won't fix anything. Mm-hmm. Like less people are just interested in wrestling.
Yeah.
And I just think that even if they can do whatever they want with these like short-term like pops with bringing in these people, but it's not going to, there's no long-term solution. Yeah. I feel like less people just care.
That and no one's going to get interested till someone on a Kenny Omega, which they won't because they own the company, but like Kenny Omega or the Bucks, if they cross over to WWE. Because you remember the WWE guys went to WCW, and then WWE started getting their guys, and that drew people in more because they're like, oh, what's going to happen today? Someone going to jump ship on this show? So right now everybody's jumping AEW. We really don't have – when that big name jumps to WWE, I think the interest will pull more viewers into both shows. But I got to admit, the only thing I can say is enjoy the ride, because if Daniel Bryan and CM Punk show up on AEW, all hell's going to break loose. And whatever they're doing with Keith Lee, and he's about to announce whatever happened to him, if there's a release coming.
I heard it was like something with his name. Like
they wanted to trademark his name.
And that's why they left him off. So they figured it out.
And then they're making Karrion Kross look like a chump because they're mad because NXT didn't beat AEW in the ratings. How is that Karrion Kross's fault and not the guys who wrote and booked AEW? I mean,
that's a huge problem I see, is why that's why I ranked NXT, because NXT used to be my favorite show to watch, because you would get excited about these guys, and when the day after WrestleMania comes around, you'd be like, okay, like they've been getting these guys ready for a year, like who's gonna pop up? But now that's dead, and so why should I care about NXT? You know, and then, like they bring up Keith Lee, and like, dude, did you see like they're still calling Dijakovic T-Bar Mace?
Yeah.
It's just like, why can't he just be
Dijakovic?
Dude, that is so true. I was actually wanted to bring that up on the show today, whether you were on or not. Like, it's making it harder and harder for me to invest in NXT. And NXT,
well, there's no point.
If anybody knows, it's my favorite show out of all of them. I enjoy NXT over all of them. And it's hard for me to invest in a show when I know, like, I got invested in Aleister Black. He goes up there. He has this cool tag team run. As soon as they split the tag team run up, he's gone. He sits in a closet for a year and a half, and then next thing you know, shows up in AEW. Like,
it's a feeding ground for AEW, essentially.
I invest all this time in Keith Lee, which, you know, I was like, who's this fatso? And then I finally see him in the ring. I'm like, oh, this guy's special. And then as they finally started putting him on his run, it's like, wow, this guy's even more special than I thought. And now I get all invested in him. And then he's choking out where he didn't even tap or pass out. They just rang the bell.
Yeah, it was
Still
weird.
confused on the end of that match, but nobody talks that it was ended early. I think it was ended early because the crowd was dead. I think, they told it.
Because I think Karrion Kross is boring. And I think he's boring, and there's like, other than his tattoos, he's kind of plain. And then the one thing you did care about him was what's her face?
Oh, Scarlett.
Scarlett. Like, why would they break up that package? They had a whole, as boring as he is, they had a great package together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With the entrance and everything, and then a lot of sizzle. But like, he gets in the ring and he's just basically, do you remember Damian Demento?
Yeah.
He's got the same outfit. It's just, and then like, and he's just boring. And they made him lose. And then Jeff Hardy tests positive or whatever for coronavirus. So like, who knows if they were even going to do anything with that.
Not only that, they showed like he has an inability to change his style. So he's wrestling a 340-pound man, and he's wrestling like he was beating up Johnny Gargano.
Yeah.
He's like no selling, sluggish, slow. And then for some reason, this is what made me even furious. You can see Vince McMahon all over it. They tried to make Keith Lee wrestle like his style of a big man.
Yeah.
Instead of letting Keith Lee wrestle like Keith Lee. And you could see Keith Lee didn't work well with the moves and didn't work. And it was just a shit match. I'm sorry. It's just the only way you can put it.
Well, also, like, that's a whole problem of today's wrestling, too, is, like, there's no psychology. Like, if Keith Lee's the big babyface, Karrion Kross should have attacked him right away, you know, beat him up, got some heat, because why does a crowd care if you're just doing the same forearm spots? I mean, I've gone over the forearm thing millions of times. Like, they do it's the same in every match. It's like, I was telling Margot, I was like, you know, we're watching a 3-hour Raw, and somebody who's never watched wrestling, who watches it, or like, I have no idea what's going on. But back in the day when the programming was 1 hour, someone who's never watched wrestling before could turn that on, and then within that hour know who's the big players, know what's going on, know what to look forward to, know what happened in an hour. Yeah. And you don't have to invest so much time, and it's now you put it on. I'm like, why is Piper Niven Dewdrop? I'm like, she could have been. She's money, dude. She's money. That's like a big baby.
When you were on the show, you remember when you were on the show? I was saying she was the one who should have replaced Nia Jax.
Yeah,
she was a more talented. She was a more believable big girl. Like, you know, she's an unbelievable talent. And yeah, maybe she can't talk, but you just put someone with a mic in front of her. Yeah, you get a Selena Vega, and then you do you do the same thing you're doing with Regina Gonzalez and what's her name, Dakota Kai, where you have like the little scrappy dude running around, you know, the big Scooby, running the mouth, and then you got Piper Niven just wrecking people for her.
Yeah,
I think it would have worked.
Raw's just hard to watch, and I'll say that, but you know, it's probably my least. Even in like NXT UK, I don't know if you guys checked out NXT UK ever. They've
Not
got
recently.
It's an hour long, and it's a good hour of wrestling. You know?
Was it the next takeover? They're going to have Walter Dragunov 2 on it.
Yeah, I think they're going to plan on having that as the main event.
I think this is where they're going to put on a show, and if by any means, if you guys remember Walter and Ciampa, that was probably my favorite match because that was just him wrecking his hand and trying to figure out how to beat Ciampa with a broken hand, even though he's the bad guy. It was so cool and so well written. And, I just think he's a special talent that nobody's paying attention to because he's on the UK brand. And
how funny is it that SummerSlam is... Oh, I don't know if you guys want to get together. So SummerSlam's on the Saturday and TakeOver's following SummerSlam.
Yeah.
For like the first time ever. Because normally it's NXT before. So I'm looking forward to... That's going to be a fun weekend.
Definitely, yeah. We got some stuff to look forward to. There's a lot going on in WWE. We're talking about how Raw is trash. SmackDown, on the other end, like Matt, you pointed out, it's a top-notch show, and we have a lot going on with that. The Cena and Roman Reigns thing, I'm really looking forward to. I can't believe the reaction that Cena got when he came back. I mean, I guess I can just because the crowd has been away for so long. But you just feel it. As soon as Cena enters and Roman enters, they're booing the hell out of Roman, even though they know, they have that thing of like, he's good, but this whole thing is good. And that's why we're cheering and booing when we're supposed to. It's amazing what good writing looks like compared to what it looks like on Raw.
Well, it's like Raw, don't they have a different, I guess they call him whatever, agent that writes, goes with the match each one.
Yeah.
Whoever did some of the later matches, like Keith Lee and all that, they should all be fired. Whoever did the AJ Almost match should be covering most of the matches because they were smart. We had the Viking Raiders go, all right, AJ's a smaller guy. They came out and wrecked AJ and tried to finish him within 2 minutes, which makes sense if you know anything about combat sports. Is you try, if the dude's going to beat you in the long run, you try to knock him out before he even has a chance to start out the gate. And they whooped his ass. They put him down on the mat, and then Almost came in. Of course, Almost still kind of sucks, but it was a more interesting match. Right? What was the other match? They were back-to-back, and both of them were phenomenal. Sheamus and Damian Priest.
Yeah.
Put on a banger, and then the whole show went straight downhill after those two matches.
It did.
I mean, that was like right off a cliff.
Yeah. But yeah, we do have some good things going on as my phone goes into silent mode. Yeah, I did want to talk about. Again, we're going to have to go back and forth, but we were talking about AEW, and Nick Gage is coming to fight Chris Jericho, and that's tomorrow on. I can't believe I'm actually saying that Chris Jericho versus Nick Gage, and this is going to be a hardcore match, right?
Yeah, and I want to say something like I'm not a fan of the deathmatch wrestling. I mean, I've always been a huge Nick Gage fan, and but I'm not a fan because, dude, his reaction from the crowd, like in any level of pro wrestling today, he's got like the best fan base.
Oh yeah,
and that's real. You know, I've never been a fan of the hack and slash and the light tubes, and it's just done to death. And people are saying like, oh, like like he was a convicted felon when we were on TV, and part of me is like, yeah, you're right. Like they're a big company. Like
so was
maybe
New Jack.
They shouldn't be promoted. Yeah, and then I'm saying like, you know what? If you looked at anybody in the world, at some point they're gonna have some skeleton or like something that they're not proud of. So it's like you can say that probably about anybody on any roster. It's like, oh, this guy did this once.
Oh, sure.
So I'm just like, you know what? He robbed the bank, literally the one right by my house. And that was like 10 years ago, and he served his time. And it's kind of like when the Eagles brought in Michael Vick and people were upset, and understandably so. Like he had the dog ring and everything, but you know what? He was around bad people. He did something bad. He served his time. He didn't hurt people, and that whole time he was here, every day he was in the communities and like teaching about it. And it's like, this guy served his time. And I think it's awesome because like, I'm so pumped for this match because I've always been a huge Nick Gage fan.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting. And my theory on it, thanks for your jogging my memory. Can I spoil a little bit of the Zack Ryder Nick Gage match? Are you guys going to try to watch that match? The Matt Carter Nick Gage? Okay.
Might as well talk about
Towards the end of the match, Judas plays. So the crowd's going nuts, right? Because they're like, "Oh, it's Jericho." So someone comes in with like a mask or whatever. Nick Gage beats him up. It was like some like student or whatever. So it was like a fake out. It wasn't Jericho, even though they played Judas. But the reaction was crazy. So I think that in this match, I think Matt Cardona is actually going to come in and cause Nick Gage to lose the match. Because I don't think this is going to be the only Nick Gage appearance in AEW. No. So if Jericho will win, right, because of interference, and that'll keep him strong with the MJF thing. And it won't necessarily make Nick Gage look weak because it was outside interference from Matt Cardona. That's what I kind of feel like that could happen. That would be pretty cool because it would keep both storylines going.
Yeah.
That's booking the town, gentlemen.
That's putting butts every 13 inches.
Putting butts in the sights.
I just love the setup to the whole thing. Like when they first started doing the what do they call them, trials or whatever, the labors. He had Jericho got to go through
the 7 labors of Hercules.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. But they were doing the same thing with Cody, with MJF, where it's like, oh, you got to do this, that, and the other thing before you can fight me. And I'm like, oh man, they're doing this again. The second I heard Nick Gage, my ears went up. I'm like, oh, okay, this is where they're going with it. Okay, let's do this thing. Like I was excited for it, and I don't really even watch AEW.
A bunch of people got a little like pissy when Jericho did the Painmaker makeup for the next week to wrestle in that match. They were making fun of him. It was like, do you guys not remember Jericho versus Naito? Like, it doesn't have to be light twos, but it can be brutal like that. Uh-oh.
Hello.
Sorry, that was a cat's butthole.
Gotta get sensors on that thing, man.
What I want to know is, like, where are they going to go from here? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Nick Gage is a pretty big deal. And like I said, not everybody in the wrestling world knows who Nick Gage is, but still, it's like you said, Mark, like for the hardcore fans that AEW is catering to, I mean, there's not a bigger free agent name, I don't think, than Nick Gage.
Well,
he's been around for 20 years.
I would say Bryan Danielson. When Bryan Danielson,
well, you know what I mean, like on
that's wrestling right now. That's not.
Yeah. That hasn't been like on any main event level.
Right.
I'll tell you now, if Punk shows up in Chicago, that you think that pop's going to be loud. Wait till D-Bry shows up in freaking New York. If that's the rumor and if it happens, the cameras will be shaking. Like it's. And now, did you see WWE is trying to re-sign Braun Strowman?
I saw that. Awesome. Yeah.
So it's like they didn't look at AEW's competition, but as soon as Punk and Bryan just got thrown in the mix, now they're like, whoa, like, which they actually recognize both of those names which is weird because you spent so many years trying to keep Bryan Danielson down, and then like he finally gets out of there, and AEW is like, hey, you want to come here? And WWE's like, oh, wait. Like, for years when AEW was slowly climbing the ladder, they could have treated him better, the whole nine, gave him and treated him like the story was.
I always felt like Braun could have been so much bigger, and I always thought, like, they left money on the table with, like, Enzo and Cass and Ryback. And I know Ryback and them are on bad terms, but and Big Cass, I think, is in TNA.
Cass made no sense.
I feel like Enzo's like superstar.
Oh, Cass made no sense. Yeah, he had some alcohol problems. He didn't listen that one day, and they fired him, right?
Yeah.
But Jimmy Uso can get behind the wheel like every other week with like.
It's ridiculous. I don't get that either.
All sauced up, and he gets the tag team titles and he's in the biggest storyline in all WWE. It just shows you like all corporations, like they're just hypocrites. Like it's, they'll cut one or two of these guys loose to look good for like stockholders. Yeah. But then it's like, oh no, this guy's a little more valuable. Like, so he can drink and drive. He might run over a person or two, but we need him for the storyline.
I think that's a bad move on their part.
Yeah, because like everybody knows that story. Everybody heard the same story that he got behind the wheel of a car and he got a DUI again.
Well, what happens if the next time he does, he kills somebody?
Well, that's what I'm joking about.
Then they're just putting themselves. They're asking for it.
Yeah,
they're enabling.
That's why. I mean, it's almost condoning this behavior. It's like, oh, you can go as long as you're in a big enough storyline and you're high up enough on the ladder, then you can pretty much do whatever you want. But if you're low enough on the ladder and you piss us off, you're gone. Get out.
They're a hypocrite like any other company. So they're doing shows. They're running shows in Texas, right? Right. And WWE is all about women empowerment and women. Guess who wants to ban abortion? And take that freedom away from women is Texas. They've just signed they want to restrict those laws. They want to restrict voting. So it's like, do you really think that WWE cares about those issues? No, because otherwise they'd be like, you know what, we're not running shows in your town.
I always use this example, and it makes
just like anybody else.
A lot of people don't pay attention to it. All right, look at Disney, right? They all act like they always, was a representation and all this crazy stuff. But then when they go to China and advertise their movies in China and make movie posters, all the black people are taken out of the posters because China's a very racist company. But then Disney's over here pointing a finger in your face, calling you a racist, and this needs to be done, and that needs to be done. And then they go over to China, like, take our money, please. Just give us money. Here, we'll take them off the poster. Like Finn from Star Wars. Yeah. He's not on any of the posters.
Yeah.
So
every corporation does not care.
Yeah, and any job you have is gonna have that type of stuff, or like the politics. It's just
the politics is just to look good to get money out of people that follow those politics. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. We're talking about with the whole Cena thing when he pissed off an entire country. He had to go and apologize because he's trying to make money. He has to make money in those countries.
Yeah, which is good on him to like that's what I think. Like the dude apologized. Like then who cares? Okay, he apologized, but like people still want to make a big deal out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
you can't, it's like take a guy. I don't want to automatically say Howard Stern, but like a guy like Stern who. Has this reputation of being of doing things in a different way. I don't want to say rebel. That seems a little passe or whatever, but doing things in a different way. But he still does ads for Snapple and things that he has to make money. Yeah, like that's the way it's.
Well, not only that, this organization, whatever, I don't know who makes the Furious movies because I've never seen one of them except for Hobbs and Shaw, which is awful. How do you have a movie with Idris Elba, The Rock, Jason Statham, and Ryan Reynolds, and the movie's terrible? It is so bad. But you forget they're paying John Cena a lot of money to be in that film. So he said something stupid, or like, how about we cut your pay, or you go out there and apologize? Like. People think like John did that on his own. That was basically a company twisting his arm.
Yeah.
And get out there and fix what you broke.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, we brought up The Rock and we were talking about the Usos, so we might as well bring up this story. It's being rumored right now that we're going to see The Rock back in the WWE at Survivor Series this year. If that's the case, what is he going to be doing at Survivor Series, and is this going to lead up to something at WrestleMania? Are we finally going to get the Rock versus Roman match that we've been wanting for almost a year?
I think they need to.
Yeah, I feel like maybe they'll do something to build it. I thought it would be awesome if they have Mick Foley come out as Mankind and do the "This Is Your Life," like the 25 years of the Rock thing. Like that would be pretty cool. But I mean, I guess I don't think he's going to. I don't know if he would get involved in doing anything unless like he teams with Cena to take on Roman and the Usos, like a 2-on-3 thing.
Maybe.
I don't know.
That would be huge if they can get Cena and Rock for Mania. But I just think it's one of those things where they have to. Like, they're teetering on the fence right now of losing a lot of fans. Like, and they're still not fixing things. We had the first show with a live crowd and it was awesome. Second show, like I said, two things and right back off the cliff. And then they're pulling all their junk again. Like they piped in boos when Bobby Lashley was coming, and you could see the crowd clapping. Yeah. And there's nothing but boos coming in. It's like, dude, are you really piping in boos for the TV crowd? Are you kidding me? Like, why do they constantly do stuff that they know infuriates people, and they just do it anyway? And then just keep thinking fans are going to buy tickets.
Because I think they only care about what it looks like on TV. The only problem is like sooner or later, like I know they signed these huge deals with Fox and USA, but 3 years from now, they're going to be like, they're going to look at their ratings and just be like, this is crap. And, you know, they're having a hard time selling out, you know, these shows. And eventually, like, you know, them just not giving a crap and doing what they want is not going to be working.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If they want me to keep watching anything, they better fix this damn Peacock network.
Oh, man.
I see. I didn't have any issues, but I watched like the second half of it the morning after. So I don't know if they fixed it.
The volume.
Right.
Yeah, you know the volume issues.
But so because I saw they were advertising that they were coming to Philly for SmackDown, and at first I was like, I definitely want to go. It's like the first live show back in Philly, but then I'm like, that's SmackDown. I'm like, I don't know how good, you just don't know how good of a show it's going to be. I might go to an AEW show if they come to Philly, but
I honestly tried to buy tickets just to go visit a friend of mine in Chicago and go check out All Out, and I completely forgot they sell out within minutes.
Yeah,
there's only 2 tickets left for $2,000 a piece on the website.
It's crazy.
No, thank you.
And they want to sell as a package.
I would go. It depends on what show came here. If it was Raw, no, I'm not.
I wouldn't go to Raw. I think it's SmackDown. Yeah, I would. Yeah. I think I would go to a SmackDown.
Yeah.
But is NXT going to be touring, or are they just going to?
I think they're going to tour again, and I'm kind of looking forward to that because they usually use the venues I work for. So last year they were at the Fillmore, and it was 2 or 3 years ago they did the Tower. So I'm going to request to just work and bartend right next to the main where they actually wrestle, so I can just watch matches and bartend at the same time.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
But, got a couple things to look forward to. I would love it. From what I'm hearing, they're putting together instead of bringing King of the Ring back, they're looking to do Queen of the Ring as a pay-per-view, which I'm really looking forward to. If they're doing it as a full pay-per-view one-night tournament, I think that's great because we haven't had a female. We've been wanting another female pay-per-view. They did Evolution back in 2018,
17? Yes, yeah.
2017, 2018. So yeah, man, we've been wanting one for a while, and a Queen of the Ring we've never had. So as long as it's not Charlotte winning it, I think I'd be.
Who do you think's gonna win it? That's why I don't want to hear this. Yeah, I don't want to hear this pay-per-view.
Well, to bring some
Charlotte. Here you go, our fabricated Superwoman, better than her dad champion. Here you go. Here's another belt. Like, it's just, I'm freaking over it, dude. Like, I'm not. If she's in a tournament, I'm not watching that pay-per-view at all because I'm not going to watch her go all the way to the final match again. Like, it's just, I can't do it anymore, man.
I think it could be a vehicle for Bianca Belair to win.
Sure. Be a vehicle for someone who doesn't have a belt.
Yeah. Well, here's another problem too. That brings up a good point. I love Io Shirai, right? And she like a bunch of other people, like Adam Cole, and like they've been down in NXT
forever,
wasting away, and there's nothing left to do with them there. But there's no option for them. It's like, what do you do at this point? And that's why, like, it's got to be frustrating for those guys, because if I were Adam Cole, I'd be like, hey, like, I'm bouncing after this contract because A, I've been down here for like 10 years. I'm the best in the world. B, you're going to bring me up and just job out to like R-Truth on Raw or whatever. Like who is that appealing to? You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like Io Shirai, she's great and she'd be perfect for the main roster. Like a year ago, she should have been brought up. And this Queen of the Ring, it's a perfect opportunity. I don't know if they're going to have NXT people, but
they should have brought her up when Kairi Sane got wrecked by Nia, and they should have brought her up to have her team with Asuka while Kairi was hurt, and they could have done something with that, but instead, and then you could have probably turned the two against each other, and we could have had a whole series of Asuka versus Io Shirai matches, which would have been off the chain. But instead, Asuka now just loses every week.
If you see her at all.
I know.
Dude, honestly, if I was Vince at this point, because I've heard both sides. I've heard, this is the way he wants things, but I also have heard that like he knows this whole system is just messed up and it's kind of like too big at this point. But if I were Vince, I would pull the emergency alarm and I would fire the creative team, and I would have
I'd fire more than the creative team.
I would sit in a room. It would be Vince. I'd try to get Jim Ross back. Okay, but he's probably busy for the next couple of years. Okay, I would have me, Bruce Pritchard, because that's like his right-hand man, so they're not going to not have him. Jim Cornette and Vince Russo in the same room and say, I'm going to pay you guys $2 million a year. We're booking out the next 2 years. Here's the roster, because that was the last time where like the storylines when it was just him and a few people out by his pool booking the territory. You know what I mean? And now it's just so muddled.
Well, I think a lot of things they need to do. They have over 200 wrestlers right now. Over 200. It's time to release easily 100 of them back into the ether. It sucks for the wrestlers, but it's just they have too many wrestlers. They can't concentrate on stories. They can't concentrate on pushes. Like guys just stop pushes and storylines. It's too confusing. It's too much. And if you're someone trying to tune in and some dude hasn't been on in 3 months, or like a Keith Lee, and then he comes on and you job him out twice, and it's like, well, why am I supposed to care about him? And who's this guy? Like, and then what's going to happen is Karrion Kross might disappear after television this week for another 5 weeks before they bring him back. And then it's like, oh, well, I was into that bald-headed guy to beat up that dude last week. 5 weeks ago, but like, I can't care about him when he shows up another 5 weeks later. They got to wipe out. Like, it sucks, but the whole collecting action figures thing I've been talking about for years, it's got to stop. He's got too many people still in the box, and he hasn't opened them up. And then you have the guys like you said, you have NXT. You can't bring up Adam Cole. Where are you going to put him? There's 50 dudes on Raw and 40 on SmackDown. Like, where do you put him?
Yeah.
And then he's so little. As soon as Vince sees him, Vince doesn't see skill. Like, he just sees size. It's his biggest detriment in the business, besides his own ego. It's like,
and there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in NXT like that. That they might look like Karrion Kross. He looked like a big dude in NXT, but up on the roster, I'm like, well, I don't see what's so. I don't know. I just don't see what's so.
He's still big, but he's nothing special. There's bigger guys on there that are more talented. Dijakovic's up there. That guy's insanely talented, and he's doing weird speeches about the law of I don't know being predator and prey or whatever the hell. And I don't know what that speech was. And then they lose to Mustafa Ali and Mansoor anyway. Yeah. Someone called him Mansoor last night. And cracked up. Because like I said, I watch while there's stuff scrolling down the side. We won't say where I'm watching, and I watch the comments on the wrestlers. And like I said, man, I told you guys, and he got booed at Money in the Bank. Drew got booed. because he's been pushed too much. They're trying to reroute that ship.
Well, he's so cornball now too. He's like so cornball.
Yeah, so they have him beat a rookie with a chair 34 times last week to try to change that around. It's like if I was the rookie, like why? Like why do I have to get? Like,
see, and if you want to bring in rookies, fine. Like you were talking about having all these people on the back that don't do anything that you haven't been had on TV for a long time. Send one of those guys out there to take on Karrion Kross. Why are you sending Keith Lee? Keith Lee's a person that we know, that we've seen all the time, and we know he's a badass, we know he's a good wrestler. So why would you send him out? Why would you put him against... Why would you have him lose against Jeff Hardy? Like, none of this stuff makes any sense. Have him go out there and squash a couple people that you're not even using, that it doesn't matter if they don't get over.
Where's the
I don't even know who they have in the back anymore.
Where's the Humberto Crios? Where's the Angel Garzas?
Yeah,
Dudes they
there
have
you
in
go.
there. Like, that'll make Karrion Kross look huge, too, because they're smaller guys.
Right.
Yeah, and make them look more impressive as you build them towards other wrestlers. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just – there's a lot of things that go on in WWE wrestling. It just makes no sense. And then, like I said, then they trashed AW for a skit I thought was awesome with Sting and Orange Cassidy, which I thought was hysterical. But they just did it.
I mean, I'm not. I won't watch anything Orange Cassidy, so I know what you're talking
two
about.
against one on here, huh? Sons of bitches.
Sorry,
Rick
man.
doesn't like Orange Cassidy either.
Yeah, I'm not an Orange Cassidy fan, but I mean, he's getting. I see why people like him. He's just not for me.
But here's my point: only the 10,000, 20,000 people who buy tickets to AEW shows and the 1 million people who tune in every week like him. Mm-hmm. Where's the 20 million who used to watch WWE in the Attitude Era, or even the 80s? Yeah. They think it's BS.
Yeah.
That's my point. They think it's getting over, quote unquote. It's not, because your ratings are going up and your tickets your ticket prices might be high because you have the niche audience that will pay whatever for them because they're all marks. Mm-hmm. But like, you don't have the 20 million people tuning in every Monday or Friday. Those people look at this Orange Cassidy and turn the TV off immediately because they don't understand. They're like, what am I watching?
I don't know if it's that. I think I always think there's a market for everybody. I mean, look at what's her name? Alexa Bliss. She's still there. And her whole storyline makes no sense. I think there's always a story for everybody. We keep forgetting, man. The Attitude Era is never going to happen again.
Yeah, but they're not even selling out. They're having a hard time selling Madison Square Garden, and they are having trouble getting 1 million people to view every week with Alexa Bliss, and it's all crap.
Dude, WWE and WCW, they all just tapped into. It was lightning in a bottle. They tapped into something that like just started getting talked about, and just like everybody talked about it. I remember like being at work and everybody talking about wrestling and all this other stuff. It's just, I don't think that's ever going to happen again because there's too much content out there to pay attention to. Mm-hmm. People can watch wrestling, or they can watch Rick and Morty, or they can watch, The Handmaid's Tale, or they can watch there's too much content.
I disagree, because when you watch the NBA, there's still
ratings are in the toilet.
30, yeah, but there's millions of people. The NFL, there's millions of people still turning into sports. And even when you look back in the day to like the territories, those territories like Memphis and Dallas and all, their ratings were still in the multi-millions for their local market. So more people were still watching wrestling than today. No matter what period you look at.
You look at basketball and football, and the reason why they're a lot bigger is, remember too, you're pretty much indoctrinated since high school to like those sports. That's where you hung out with all your friends at those games. And so like people,
I'm literally watching the Phillies with John Truck as the announcer.
I'm a huge Phillies fan. So yeah. But I'm saying, like, you grew up playing those sports, and you also grew up, like I said, in high school and college. You kind of revolved around those sports to meet other people or hang out with people you're friends with. You didn't in college go to a wrestling match, or in high school go
That's
like
true, yeah.
40 deep to a wrestling match and then go drink in the woods because some kid stole a keg out of a beer distributor. Like, it's a totally different world. Like, it's wrestling is a niche sport. It caught on to something and it fizzled out, within 4 years, 5 years. And those 4 or 5 years are awesome. That's what I said. If Daniel Bryan and CM Punk join AEW, enjoy the ride because it's going to get real fun, real fast. And WWE we've already seen it. They know how to turn the ship when they absolutely have to. So that will happen. It's just they're lazy.
Yeah.
As long as they're creating content and the money's rolling in, they're not going to make an effort to make you happy. They don't.
Yeah, because I guess they don't have to at this point. Do you think Brock's going to AEW?
I doubt it. I don't think. I don't know. Do you think AEW has Brock money?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think they're gonna. I think if they do sign CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, they're probably paying them way more than they're worth. I don't doubt that they would pay Brock. I mean, Brock's name value is probably worth more than both of them.
Brock ain't going nowhere but WWE.
Well, the thing I heard about Brock, the reason that they brought in Goldberg instead of Lesnar for SummerSlam was that they're trying to get Brock back more than just one show and then done. They're trying to get him not necessarily every week, but as often as they possibly can. And I don't know what Brock's doing, but apparently his schedule isn't meeting up to what the WWE needs it to be.
He's too busy. He's too busy growing long hair and a beard.
He's out in the wilderness. He's hunting. He's fishing. He's doing things. No, I have no idea what he's doing.
got time to
But Mark,
farm,
you were
man.
talking about like the Attitude Era. Obviously, the Attitude Era is never coming back, but it doesn't mean that you can't bring in a new whatever the next thing is.
But they,
You
Yeah,
talked
because
about
look,
people-
guys.
I mean, you talked about people at work talking about wrestling back then. Most of them, they were talking about the main event. They were talking about Austin and McMahon, or they were talking about The Rock and something like that. That's what they were talking about. That's what you need again.
You got to understand, though, and we've talked about this before. WWE will never have that again because Vince is not interested in making stars. He's interested in making the brand a star. And the problem is, when D-Bry was getting huge, what did he do? Destroy him. When CM Punk, Summer of Punk, remember how fast that fizzled out? Every time they show a spark that they could go to the next level, Vince McMahon squashes it because he's scared that guy's going to turn around, walk out of his federation, and he's going to lose millions and millions of dollars. Instead of earning millions of dollars while he can and thinking about what he can make right there and then build stars around that character while they're shooting through the atmosphere, they did it to Becky Lynch too. Even if you think about it, they turned her into John Cena near the end.
Yep.
She might as well have been making poopy jokes, near the end because she was so corny. And she was hot. And it was like the first time we ever seen a female wrestler hit that level. And they squashed that too. He is terrified of losing wrestlers to other brands that are money value. And that's what's happening right now with the Daniel Bryan CM Punk thing. They are name value. He didn't see Christian as name value. Aleister Black, no. Miro, no. Saw none of them as name value. He sees these two as money-making, name value people. Now he's panicking. Now he's like, hey, Braun Strowman, sorry, buddy. Want to come back? And if I was Braun Strowman, what's he getting, $1.2 million a year? I'd ask for 1.4 right away.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
That's the way it is. And it's
200,000 a year is the I'm sorry tax.
The I'm sorry. this is just my reparations or whatever.
Yeah.
But we talked about we talked about a lot of negative stuff about what's going on, but right now we want to talk about some positive stuff, and I'd like to do that with a segment called Who Wins Wrestling? Who wins wrestling? Blah 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 blah. So Matt, you came out of the bat right away. You said you had somebody for this. What do you got, man?
Yeah, and like I said, there's a lot of positive stuff happening. Obviously, I think whatever happens with Daniel Bryan, CM Punk's going to be positive. There's a lot of things to look forward to. I'm excited. SummerSlam's on a Saturday. That's going to be pretty cool. SmackDown, like I said, is the best show, and one of my favorite things that I'm enjoying is the Baron Corbin
Oh my god, he's the best.
This is it's so good. The hopeless Baron Corbin and him just they posted like I think it was an online exclusive backstage interview where he's just like kneeling down and like he's like, oh, like my wife's leaving me and I can't pay for my car, and they're like, is that the same shirt you've been wearing? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I had a can of beans and I forget what he said. He's like, I spilt it, but then I continued to eat it. Like, this stuff is great. And this is an example of, I don't like comedy, but if you're going to do it, have like one comedy segment on your show. And I think this is like a perfect example of it done right.
Yeah.
Of comedy being done right. Like this whole character of him like losing his crown and
Corbin's playing it serious though. It's a comedy bit where he's playing it serious. He's not acting like a goofball. He's playing it serious. Like he's like, I can't pay for all my cars. Like he's still kind of rich, but he's not as rich as he was. And that's where it's like kind of funny because he's like he's acting like he's completely flat broke when he has all this stuff. But I love the picture when they call his name and he just waves like this. Yeah. All defeated up against the wall.
Yeah, I think so for me with Baron Corbin, I think that stuff's great.
Yeah, that's a good call. Mark, do you have somebody?
It is tough this week because there's so much crazy stuff going on in wrestling. Honestly, I'm going with the Murder Hawk winning the IWGP U.S. title. Man, I think that on American soil, I thought that was a big deal. The match finish was a little hokey, but you can tell that he definitely couldn't get out of the barbed wire when he showed the camera and it was stuck in his skin. I just think it's a guy who's really he was a Miro type character where he was a big name that came in and he did nothing with him. Mm-hmm. Hopefully now that he has the IWGP title, like they can show that he's the real deal. He's always been a solid wrestler over in Japan. I'm looking forward to him maybe throwing another wrestler into the ceiling sooner or later. But yeah, I would love to go with Keith Lee, but it's almost depressing watching Keith Lee, even though he came back.
Yeah,
it's so hard for me to watch it.
Yeah, that's another one of those things that's just a shame because I love Keith Lee so much. He won wrestling for me several times in the past, but this time I'm happy with mine because this week I'm going with Samoa Joe. It's a little odd what's going on NXT because you have Karrion Kross on NXT and on Raw as well, and Raw he's not doing so good, but on NXT I think he's doing pretty good. He choked out Joe the one week and then he choked out Regal the next week. This seems like it's leading to Samoa Joe versus Karrion Kross for the NXT title. If it's not, that's crazy talk. But if it is, we might see two-time. It would be two-time or three-time or something like that. Samoa Joe NXT
three-time
champion. It's a third time. Yeah, I thought he had it twice. But yeah, man, Samoa Joe. I'm looking forward to seeing him back in the ring, and I love Joe when he's heated, when he's angry, and he looks like he's about to tear through a wall to get to somebody.
Oh, by the way,
this is the kind of stuff I love.
Can we talk about Drew? I almost called him Drew Galloway. Drew McIntyre trying to steal Joe's chant on Raw. He's like when they all chant, Drew's gonna kill you, and he got the fans. I was like, oh, you son! That was so. I was like, dude, you are just making yourself more and more hateable every week.
Yeah,
no more Drew McIntyre. I want Jinder Mahal to win. I want him to win.
I kind of do too. I don't blame.
I hope he runs him over with his fake motorcycle too.
They're probably gonna have a Punjabi prison match at SummerSlam or something.
Oh my god! Release a few moose into there. Matt, we're about to wrap up the thing, man. Do you have anything to plug? Do you want to talk about anything before we get out of here?
No, man. I'm just looking forward to SummerSlam and NXT's tonight is on Sci-Fi. Mm-hmm. So make sure you record that. If you guys have Sci-Fi, or do you both have Peacock now, or?
I have Peacock. The only thing is they don't play it live.
Oh, okay.
Peacock doesn't play the show live, or I'd be watching Raw and NXT on Peacock instead of watching on an app that has people talking on the side, because that's the only way I can watch it. I only pay for an app that I can't watch any of the shows live. Even the pay-per-view go to hell when the main match comes on.
That made us so mad. We missed the entire men's Money in the Bank match because Peacock was just cutting in and out, and
that match was awesome. Ricochet was just out of this world good in that match.
Yeah.
That's another guy like should be a star, and
he's gone 2 weeks.
Yep.
He's been gone for 2 weeks now. Ever since he was in that match. Look, we can put Ricochet back on the shelf. So I said they're like action figures. Now he takes his little Ricochet toy, puts him back on the shelf, and then he pulls his Keith Lee and his Karrion Kross down. He's like, he doesn't. He's.
Mark, do you have anything to put over, or anything to talk about before we get out of here?
No.
Just
warning you all: be ready, be safe. The lockdowns are coming.
Yeah, they're coming again.
I live in the city, and I'm hearing a lot of rumbles. Just be ready. Do not be shocked when it comes. Just be prepared.
I'm hoping it lasts until. I hope we can keep everything open and running and mask free until September, because this summertime is killing me. If I have to wear a mask to go into a place, I'm dying.
Mask mandate in the city should be back in 2 weeks, and then I think lockdown should be mid to late October. They're going to hit us right before the holidays to make sure we don't travel to go see our families.
Oh, man, they're going to take away my Halloween again. Don't. I love Halloween. Man.
I'm just saying it. Just be safe, because D variant is killing people.
Yeah. Yeah, be cool, everybody.
Get vaxxed if you have health issues.
Yeah, get vaccinated.
Definitely get vaxxed. My plugs are nice and short. Go to WrestleRock.com, man. You can see everything there. You can see the videos that we do with this podcast. You can see, you can hear the podcast live. You can check out our merchandise store, man, where we sell our merchandise and don't make a dime from it because we're giving it all away to charity. So check all that stuff out, man. You can see a lot more on there, too. Check out our Trevin Adams interview, our Jerry the King Lawler interviews on there, a whole bunch of stuff. Check it on out, man.
I gotta try getting a hold of Trevin. With everything going on now, like wrestling getting back to normal, I should see if I can get him on. He's doing a lot more commentary lately, so maybe I can get him to pop in. Yeah,
I'll hit him up on Evolve or something like that. Yeah.
Hey man, why not? See if I can get him to pop in.
But yeah, I'd absolutely love that, man. And that'll be about it, I believe, for this episode of Wrestle Rock, man. Matt Flowers.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much, guys. It's been great to see you. That'll about do it for this episode of Wrestle Rock. I'm Rick Connor.
Mark Albucker.
Karrion Kross.
And Karrion Kross. Let's take it out like we always do with Mr. Nick Burke.
It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. Join us again for another episode of Wrestle Rock. This has been Jay Davis speaking.